Hi, we're talking math and economics. Take your notebooks out because we have a very interesting guest with us, Prateek Kuhad. A very warm welcome to NDTV.
Hey man, thanks for having me.
And you are an NYU graduate in math and economics?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I am.
So all that we talk about is math and economics today.
Yeah, I'm an expert.
To give you a break from your usual musical interviews.
Yeah, sure. It'll be very refreshing actually.
Okay. Keeping jokes aside, of course, you're talking all music. Very warm welcome to the NDTV studios. How have you been?
Great. Yeah.
You're starting your tour?
Yeah, I'm starting my India tour now in less than 2 weeks. First show is in Bombay on the 29th.
Okay. And I was talking to a lot of your fans and I asked them their favorite Prateek Kuhad song, and Kasoor and Cold Mess stood out. And these are two really iconic tracks. If you have to tell the story of, let's say, one of these, let's say Cold Mess, what's the story? Like, how do you think it became what it has become?
I think, well, for one, most of my songs are written pretty spontaneously. So I don't really plan to write about a certain topic or subject. With Cold Mess, it was soon after a breakup that I had. And I just wrote the song one day. And then, ended up being a really classic, iconic breakup song. And but I think another factor to it being really taking off is just overall, I think the EP that Cold Mess was in, just the Cold Mess EP, it was a great EP. Like all 6 songs actually did really well on that EP. I think the music video had a huge part to play in it. We had a really exceptionally good team for that. Jim and Zoya as leads in it, just great chemistry, excellent actors. The filmmaking team was amazing. The concept was really moving, and I think it was one of the first, not the first, but a really real, raw, natural kind of video, very and really
and
emotional.
And an English song from an Indian artist.
Yeah.
Taking off on, that level.
Yeah.
But what they propagated in Rockstar actually became true in your case, which is rockstar बनने के लिए, star बनने के लिए दिल टूटना ज़रूरी है. That
no, I don't think. I think that's like it's fun in games and movies, but in real life, it's a heartbreak. It's a heartbreak, So nobody should strive for it.
No happy
for sure.
heartbreak.
That's creating unnecessary drama in your life. But this is how life is. Sometimes stuff happens, and for me, a way to deal with it is to write songs about it.
Yeah, so don't chase heartbreaks to make it big. But otherwise, keeping the heartbreak aside, what is your journey of a song? Like, what is your process?
There's multiple things that happen. First is, of course, just writing the song itself, and that for me is a very spontaneous process. I just sit down, I use my guitar or my piano.
You write to a tune, or you make a tune and then
it
both?
Varies, yeah.
Both.
Sometimes I'll have a tune and then I'll put words to it. Sometimes I come up with a line which I think is really cool, and that's the key point. Usually when you have like a line which is a chorus line which feels really great, then building a song around it is relatively easy. So getting that concept and that first chorus kind of right is the tricky part, and that takes time. And then there's like stages in terms of, a song is not just words and melody. It's the production around it, like the instruments that you're using, all of that stuff.
So
there's a lot of polishing. So I make demos myself usually. Then I'll work with other producers to make it better, other musicians to add sounds to it and stuff like that. So it's...
Do you make someone hear it also?
I make it depends. Sometimes I do. Make some of my friends and some of my family listen to it, my management sometimes. It's at different stages.
Who
sometimes.
Do you take seriously?
When I feel really comfortable with a song, that's when I usually share it. A lot of times I write songs, I don't like it and I just shelf it away.
Then whose feedback are you taking seriously?
I don't take any one person's feedback seriously.
Okay.
That's why I try to keep a mix of like...
It's a consensus.
6 to 8 people consensus. It's not just consensus. Sometimes people's tastes and preferences, like I know what kind of music my mom likes or my sister likes or my best friend likes. And then based on how they react, I get a sort of an information on, okay, why do they not like or not like this song,
And when you take those songs to the stage, does it change?
Yeah, that also changes. So that is also feedback. A lot of times I'll play new songs on stage and just throw in a couple of new songs to see how people are reacting, and that also is information in terms of, okay, what's good, what's not.
And you also carved a niche for yourself where you're this person who's popular in the indie scene, and then you also made it big in the mainstream media as well. Is there any difference between creating art for both these genres?
I think the aesthetic is overall a bit different. Just overall, like even if you look at the visuals or the kind of videos that come out of the indie music scene, the kind of music, it's a bit different compared to Bollywood. But at the same time, like I think artists are kind of artists everywhere, you know. So
But
it's
isn't
just
there a
the
lot of
process
intrusion when you're creating it for a Hindi film?
a lot of what, sorry?
Intrusion or feedback, inputs, this is what we want.
No, not with me, because I never really chased a Bollywood project ever.
Okay.
I usually, I was just doing indie stuff. I always wanted to put out my own music. I was just doing that. I took a decision to just do that, and I built a fan base pretty quickly initially, so it was enough to kind of
She always
sustain
had an
me.
upper hand, is what you say.
Not sure if you want to call it that, but I mean, for me, I was happy like playing to, you know, small audiences, making enough money that, you know, I was getting to do what I love. And then the music kind of took off, and then people started reaching out to me for the kind of songs I already wrote, you know. So I never had to really mold into Bollywood aesthetic or do something that was too out of my comfort zone, because I didn't want to do that also. I'm good writing a kind of music, and I love listening to that same sort of genre. I you know, especially even when it comes to the topics and things I'm talking about, I like writing a certain way. So I kind of stick to my guns. That you get minor feedback in terms of, you know, making the lyrics fit to the character and the script, and that's fair, because ultimately it is a collaboration between me and the director.
Sure.
But there's no drastic changes to my style or like what I want to do creatively beyond a point that and nobody asks for.
Oh, I was going to ask, like, are there any requests? And then
There's
you
never any
deny?
request.
Oh.
There's usually never any request, because most of the people I work with are fans. So they come to me to get music because they really like the kind of music I'm making, you know. So they're already on board with my creative style.
What was it like making Kho Gaye Hum Yahan?
Kho Gaye Hum Kahan, me and Jasleen wrote that song together many years before it actually came out. Once Jasleen just hit me up one time and she was like, you know, work on this song. I have an idea. And I was like, cool. So she came over. She had kind of like a couple of rough lines, a small melody, and then we built on it together and made it into a song. And then nothing happened. She was trying to pitch it for a film. I think this was 2014 or something, and it didn't work out. Then 2 years later, she called me. It's like, hey, that song got synced to this film, and it's coming out soon. And like, are you down? I was like, yeah, of course, sure. And then turned out the film was Baar Baar Dekho, and you know, the song did what it did.
Have you watched the film?
I have not.
Okay, I'm not asking you how did you like the film, but of course the song was the best part about that film, because I watched the film. So, but now, you know, you've also been traveling a lot abroad and performed there. Does anything change there, or it's just your own community, and then nothing really changes between?
It does change actually. I mean, it is a lot of Indians abroad that come, obviously, because my biggest fan base is India. There's a lot of I mean, one part of the audience is Indians who kind of have moved there recently, but then there's a big part which are also just Indians from there, and then there's some locals also in every city is kind of different. And this is something I noticed this time, that like even for a lot of Indians who moved there, they've culturally become more kind of like that city because they've lived there for so long. So then you feel the vibe of that country and that culture in the room and stuff. Every show is a bit different actually when you're playing abroad. US, Europe, UK, it's interesting.
Let's also settle the Delhi versus Mumbai debate. You performed in both the cities. What's the difference? What do you prefer? 2 questions.
My biggest, my fan base started from Delhi.
Okay.
And so playing Delhi is always special. It just feels special because I started here so long ago playing tiny shows and stuff. The very first show I played, I think, as me was in Delhi in this tiny bar in Defense Colony on the top floor of this.
Where do you stay in Delhi?
I live in Friends Colony right now. Okay. And so it just, you know, it's always special. But
I knew the but.
I love Bombay as a city though. I prefer the kind of weather there. I know this is a controversial opinion, but I actually like the kind of milder, it has relatively milder heat than Delhi in the summers, and I don't mind the humidity. So I quite like Bombay overall. Also the people, the culture, the vibe, I quite like it as well. It's pretty split for me. They're both really great shows, honestly. But, I mean, last tour also in 2019, the 2 most amazing shows were Delhi and Bombay.
And you also have I mean, other than your music, your, you know, presence or your demeanor also has picked up a lot of character on social media as well, and there are a lot of memes. And there's one video which has been doing the rounds, which is like how to sound like Prateek Kuhad. And then there are these memes which I wanted to show you. And there's this one which says, "When I feel cold," and then there's that Panvel meme clubbed with it. So what do you have to say? Does it talk about the tehrav that you have in your music?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just my singing style is also sometimes really, really soft. And Cold Mess is a really slow, relaxed song. And that's rare, right? Like, I think this is what we were talking about, the aesthetic between Bollywood and indie, right? Bollywood, everything is really glamorous and loud and excited. And, you know, I guess that's rare for people to listen to. So.
And while we were talking before the interview as well, you said, I don't know, what really stands out. Probably this is probably
Maybe.
something that stands out about your
yeah.
music. And then there's actual pictorial representation of Cold Mess. It's got a unique name.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Initially when I wrote the song, it was in kind of two parts. There was a cold part and a mess part. And if you listen to the song, the end of the song, the last 20-30 seconds sounds very different vibe-wise. There's a lot more instrumentation. It gets really messy, so to say, So I kind of wrote it like that. When I was producing it especially, it was kind of like this gimmick, and then eventually decided to just put it together. And the other thing is also that and that's the kind of concept behind that whole EP is cold/mess, It's that dichotomy in a relationship where sometimes there's a lot of attachment and love and connection, but at the same time a lot of chaos, So the cold mess is that, and there's 3 songs of the album which are like that on that EP, There's Cold Mess, there's With You For You, there's Did You Fall Apart. All 3 have the slashes to kind of talk about that dichotomy that was there in that relationship that I was in.
Okay. Third meme, which I'm going to show a picture you of and then read it out. When your crush makes you listen to Prateek Kuhad, but you have to pretend to enjoy it to have a chance with her. There are a lot of female fans, and men usually complain about this, and that's why I think the meme is coming from one of those. So how do you receive female fan following?
I'm happy about it.
No complaints about it.
No complaints, yeah. I think female fans are, I don't want to generalize, and there's no but generally women tend to be more polite, more respecting of your space in general. Even in public, if I meet fans, usually the women are more, girls are just always nicer about it. If they want a photo or if they want to say hello, they're a bit more respectful. Guys can be sometimes a bit what's up man, can I get a photo? Just straight up and So I like that, but I'm happy about all kinds of my fans, man.
And in the end, your latest album, how was that received?
Really well. We just started to really promote it now. I think touring does is kind of one of the main promotional activities for me at least. It's just that's where really literally thousands of people come out and listen to the music, connect with each other. So that's what really creates that space for really, sometimes even discovering new music. So we put out this album. It's called The Way That Lovers Do in May of this year. I've been working on it, most of last year. It was recorded in Seattle.
And not inspired from a breakup.
It's not inspired from a breakup. It's more about the way that lovers do. The philosophy is kind of lovers are generally romantic, passionate people. When you are truly in real love, I think something changes about us, which kind of spreads through everything in life. It's not just then towards that person. It's just generally you are a more passionate, a more honest, and I think that's a really good thing. So the album is about the different aspects of love and about that sentiment.
Us as our audience also have all love for you, Prateek, but thank you so very much for joining us for this conversation. With that, we've come to an end of this segment. This is Arun Singh for NDTV.